really one of the biggest reasons why I signed with him. I've seen his rise through the UFC. I know how hard it is to be a champion, and I know how hard it is to stay a champion. That's one thing, but then I started seeing what he was able to do outside the cage and supporting his teammates and training other people, and now he's getting into promoting, and I give him credit for that. I've said a lot about the man in the past, and I wanted to fight him, and I wanted to test myself against him. I only want to do that with people that I respect, and since his retirement and since all this stuff, my respect has grown, so I'm happy to go in there and shed some blood.
So when can we expect to see you make your Eagle FC debut? I mean, could it be potentially on Friday, January 28th? Have you thought about maybe late winter, early springtime?
I think the date is March 11th. That sounds good to me. You know, I'm gonna move down here to Miami, set up. This is the home of Eagles, so it'll be my home, and it'll be a great start to a partnership, and we'll start it on March 11th. We'll go in there and put on a show.
How does that make you feel knowing that this man's gonna move here to Miami, the home base of Eagle FC here in the United States?
I feel great, you know, like this is one of the things what I want to change. I don't want like people call this promotion like from Russia. This is now become a global promotion and headquartered. It's gonna be here in Miami, you know. And
he's undergone both knee ACL surgeries, so that's a good.
A lot of fighters last like couple of weeks, and we have a lot of great news. It's coming up in 2022.
Rears, it speaks for itself. More questions from media.
I don't need a fake made-up belt, you know.
Exactly.
I'd rather get the weight class. I think that's important.
Yeah, that's cool. Dude, they're gonna have a 165 and everything.
A 165-pound division. That's new, brand new, you know. But when we look back on this in future generations and future times,
First Ultimate Fighter winner, first one to fight at 165.
That'd be history to make. They've done it in boxing. They've added these weight classes, and then people come after them. And I think that's where we start here.
In the back.
Question to Kevin. We know that you step here as a fighter, but before you have in the UFC you have many times like your potential opponent Habib. I mean, what kind of feelings and what kind of thoughts you have that now you're in?
Can you repeat one more time? Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
I mean, now before you even speak, you have a potential opponent, is Habib. As we're watching for this fight many times, I mean, potential fight.
Are there any opponents right now in mind, or how does that process work? Because
life is amazing. Sometimes, you know, it's better to work together and be partners in this and grow something.
Very good.
And still get the same thing accomplished without having to fight each other. This sport, at the end of the day, is about respect.
I swear to God, this streak is good.
And that's something that I think we can get through without having to fight. So by us doing that, I think we can set the precedent and move the sport along from, you know, the bullshit and the Conor McGregor style of trash talking and all this. I think we can move the sport along. And he's a great champion, and he's done fighting, and now we'll move on to a different time in the sport. You know, I'm not one of these young guys. I've been around the sport for a long time. I'm a vet. I've had a lot of fights, but I haven't even hit my prime yet. So to have him help me get to my prime, I think that's more important than us fighting each other.
I also want to say that I think it's refreshing that a fighter who has fought at the highest level in Habib Nurmagomedov is diving into the promotional world, because he does know what you guys go through with Kevin, and without people have done that, I think that instead of being a promoter and saying, I think you should do this, or I'm going to pay you this, whatever the case may be, he's been there, so he knows what you guys have to go through, and I think from a respect standpoint, that is more advantageous, and I think that you like fighting for a guy that, hey, look, he's been in there. The guy's undefeated, and he's beaten the world's best, so he knows what it takes to be able to get ready for a fight and compete.
Absolutely, I think that's a big part of my decision to come over here, and for just the fellow
Yeah,
fighters
so I think that'll be the fight.
free agency is amazing. Like
I'm kind of feeling it right now.
Diego Sanchez versus Knuckle Mania. I think that's the fight. I think it's almost like it just came around in a circle to come to that. It's like,
because, like you said, he's been there and done that. He's a great champion. So when some of these other promoters will tell you what to do, it kind of goes in one ear and out the other. But when you know somebody has already been there and they actually understand what you're going through, it makes a big difference. And I think it's the evolution of the sport is for us to start becoming our own promoters.
yeah, so what do you think? I mean,
Kevin Lee versus Diego Sanchez.
well, that says it all. God damn.
Kevin Lee versus Diego Sanchez, YouTube.
When you order Domino's delivery online, you might get a surprise free, like pizza, lava cakes. Messy. Wherever the new world of work takes your business, the world works with ServiceNow.
And how's it going, man? Live from the presser.
It's amazing. Just finished the presser a few minutes ago. But everything went great. You know, walking into the building, I can feel the energy, and it's going to be good to take that into account.
Yeah. When did Eagle FC come on your radar? Because obviously we heard the news of it being released. When were they? When did they first contact you?
So Ali reached out to me.
Diego's making a
It's
decision
a few weeks
whether
now.
it's gonna.
We had a lot of conversations, a lot of back and forth, and
I think that'd be a good fight. Oh yeah.
So
see that, Bonnie?
it makes sense.
At what point did you and Habib sort of bury the hatchet? Because I know for a while, you know, you guys were kind of rivals, and I'm sure that was part of you, you know, agreeing to do this, was that everything had to be cool.
Yeah, there was always a mutual respect between us. You know, there was never a point in any time when I wanted to fight him where I got like disrespectful about it or showed that I did respect him. I mean, I obviously wanted to fight him because I did. So I think underneath all of it, we didn't even have to have a conversation. Like we kind of both already knew, you know. We kind of looking in his eyes and tell just from that.
We know that PFL had also apparently had some interest in you. Were there ever serious talks about you joining PFL?
Yeah, PFL was on the radar. A lot of people were. I got a lot of different offers from a lot of different promotions. It's just this one made sense, and especially with Khabib running it, and already being a great champ, I can kind of look to him and believe that he's behind me. You know what I mean? He has fought before. He's been a champ. He knows what it's like. So it just made more sense than all the other guys.
And then Bellator came out and said they weren't interested. Were you a little bit surprised by that, especially with the fact that your brother's part of their promotion as well?
No, because I wasn't interested in Bellator. So
Okay.
It doesn't surprise me. No. It's like, you know, if you ask a girl out and then she says no and then you say he was ugly anyway, she don't want you to know it.
Right, yeah, no, that line of thinking. Wouldn't it have kind of been cool, though, to have you and Keith fight the same promotion, though? Did that ever cross your mind?
Sure. I mean, I think he's going to go with a different promotion, too. I'm not really, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure what Bellator's, what they got going on.
And this is at 165. How much of a factor was that with you signing with Eagle FC? I'm sure the money's good, too, but I'm sure 165 is a big driving force.
Yeah, that was big, you know? That was huge. Not only will my body feel better, I feel like this is my proper weight class. It's brand new, so that means I get to be the inaugural champion.
And this is just going to go over to
and I think in the future, once we get away from like you being the top dog and all this, those things are gonna write well with this one. So to be the first 165 world champion means a lot to me.
Oh yeah, you'll be.
Have you been told your first fight will be a title fight, or are you still working on the details?
So they're gonna do a few fights before a title fight. Well, that number, I don't necessarily know. I don't know when they're going to introduce titles. I think maybe at the end of the year, but my first fight will be in March.
Excellent. And how many fights is your deal with Eagle FC?
So right now it's for 4 fights, and they will go from there.
Interesting. And are you allowed to go take other opportunities? I'm sure not MMA, but would you be allowed to box, for example?
Yeah, there's an opportunity to co-promote it at one point in the future with other promotions or however we're gonna do. I think that's one of the big factors that get me to sign with the two. Is the freedom that it'll give me, not to just be tied.
Are you a walk-in? I don't have the time today.
And we also heard that apparently you're going to be paid in Bitcoin. Is this accurate?
Yeah, the entirely in Bitcoin. I'll be the first mixed martial artist to be paid in Bitcoin. So,
why wouldn't you want to be paid in Bitcoin? That's elite.
Was that something you pitched to them, or they pitched to you about getting paid in Bitcoin?
So we, my manager and my team at CAA, they worked on it, and they didn't give me any pushback when asked about it. So it kind of goes to show like how forward thinking they are. They've already talked about setting up things to do in metaverse and different ways to broadcast and all these things. So yeah, it's that was also a big part of the factor.
Well, I think it's awesome. I've had Bitcoin for years. I think cryptocurrency is the future, so I was really excited to hear that. Do you know if any other fighters are getting paid in Bitcoin as well, or is it just you?
I'm the first one. You know, I'm pretty sure many people will follow suit, especially as this thing takes off even more. But to be paid in Bitcoin, it gives me a lot of financial freedom, you know what I mean? It gives me a lot of security where I don't even necessarily have to fight, which is going to make me fight so much better because I'm not so worried about it.
That was a bizarre answer. Would you agree?
It's going to be something that other people follow suit with.
The other bombshell you dropped is that you're moving to Miami and you're moving your whole camp over there. Any idea where you're going to be training, or are you going to sort of create your own camp?
I'm going to train at Sanford MMA. I've been there a few times, already trained a little bit, but now I'll actually train there. I'll still obviously train with Faraz Sahabi and TriStar, but we'll work out how that relationship works. I already know there's a few people who already do that, who are training at Sanford but still use Faraz and still use some of the other trainers from TriStar, so that door is already open.
What was the connection for you to Sanford? I was curious about that.
Honestly, it just kind of came about, you know. I started spending more time down here in Miami. I've got some family, so it just kind of came about. I'm trying to think who was the first person that introduced me to Sanford. I think it might have been Derek Brunson. Yeah, I think it might have been Derek Brunson. He told me to go over. And then I met Michael Chandler, and you know, yeah.
Okay, that's excellent, and a wealth of welterweights too there as well. I mean, are you excited about getting to train with guys like Luke and Burns, who are at 170, which is closer to the weight class you're going to be competing at?
Yeah, and then you got a lot of guys who are above our weight class too, like Tyler Strong that I can learn from, to get to work with Henry Wolf, and you know, there's a lot of potential for growth from being at Stanford for sure. And like you said, great training partners and guys that I didn't even know were there, who are really good.
Any ideas on who your first opponent could be? Have you been hearing any names, or are there any? Because I know the one great thing about the promotion is Habib said, look, this is not a Russian promotion. We're going to get guys from the U.S. as well. Are you hearing any names at all about a first opponent?
Yeah, I've heard Diego Sanchez's name being thrown around. Diego will be a great first fight. Yeah,
well, Kevin, it's going to happen.
So I think Diego Sanchez is where we're
You
looking.
bet your sweet ass on it.
Is there a
He
possibility
wants
of you going
it.
back to the UFC in the
Habib
future? Do you
wants
think
it.
this is it? You're just
Ali
going to
wants
continue,
it.
you know,
Everybody
fighting
wants
for
it.
It's going to happen.
UFC or
Kevin,
something?
They're gonna-
sweet ass on it.
To be honest, I'm
That
not
shit is
too
fucking-
excited about going and just being a part of any
Now it's just about getting the right payday, you know?
One of the guys.
It's on.
If I do, it'll be maybe a book promotion or something like that. You know? Possibly. Only reason I would go back now is for a rematch with Charles Oliveira. So if they come back with that, give me a direct rematch with Charles, then okay, yeah. Otherwise, I'm gonna go back.